If you're studying finance or data science, I bet you're hearing this promise constantly, that AI is some kind of magic key to the markets. Well, today, we're not just going to question that promise. We're going to tear it down, piece by piece. We're going to look at the architecture of real, sustainable success and see how it stacks up against the myth of the overnight AI genius. Okay, let's get into it. So let's just start with the big question, the one every aspiring quant is wrestling with. With all these incredible tools out there, can you really just plug in an AI and skip all the years of hard, grueling work? The ads, the hype, they all scream yes. But we're here to look at what the pros, the people actually building real, lasting careers, know is true.
So first we have to dissect this myth of the AI magic tool. It's this incredibly powerful story, right? That some piece of software can completely level the playing field and give any one of us the power of a top-tier hedge fund without, the decades of expertise that come with it.
This quote just nails the hype perfectly. The key word in all of this is democratize. This idea that a super complex, earned skill can suddenly be downloaded like it's an app. But look, this belief isn't just a little off. For anyone who's serious about this as a profession, it is a dangerous, dangerous distraction from the real work you need to be doing.
And let's be totally clear. This promise of an easy shortcut, it is nothing new. Decades ago, they were called trading robots. Then, the story was all about pure speed, with algorithmic trading. Today, the magic words are AI and machine learning. The packaging gets more and more sophisticated, but the product underneath is exactly the same. A promise to skip the hard part to get the prize without running the race.
This leads us to a really critical concept you have to understand for your career: how to avoid the well-spoken idiot. This is the promoter who markets a slick-looking tool with a ton of confidence, but with zero real mathematical substance behind it. They prey on the fact that if you're new to this world, you can't yet tell the difference between a genuine signal and just random statistical noise. It's the classic blind leading the blind, and it is a trap you absolutely have to learn how to spot. Okay, so let's pivot. Enough about the myth. Let's talk about reality. How do the true masters of this craft actually use their tools? This is where the whole story flips, away from simple automation and towards what we call augmentation.
Think of it this way. If you put the world's most advanced surgical scalpel in my hand, you don't get a surgeon. You get a very dangerous person. A tool is a force multiplier, but it only multiplies existing expertise. Without the years of study, you wouldn't even know what questions to ask the tool, let alone how to begin to interpret the answers it gives you.
Probably the perfect metaphor for the proper relationship between a trader and their model is the golfer and the caddy. The AI is your caddy. It is brilliant. It can gather tons of data, analyze historical patterns, and suggest a strategy. But you are the golfer. You're the one who has to combine that information with your own hard-won experience, manage your own emotions when the pressure is on, and ultimately, you are the one who has to make that final decision and execute. And this is the absolute crucial point. A world-class golfer is still a world-class golfer, even if they're playing alone. But the best caddy in the entire world cannot turn an average player into a champion. The data, the signals, all the stuff your tools give you, it's all worthless without a well-trained, disciplined human mind on the receiving end. The researcher is and always will be the real source of alpha.
Now, to see this principle in action at the highest level you can possibly imagine, we have to study the ultimate blueprint for quant success, the late, great mathematician Jim Simons and his firm, Renaissance Technologies.
Just let that number sink in for a second. A 66% average annual return for over 3 decades. This is not the result of a lucky algorithm. It's not a clever piece of software. This is the product of a culture built on absolute, uncompromising intellectual rigor and a complete rejection of the typical Wall Street story.
So how is this even possible? Well, you have to look at his foundation. Before he ever even thought about the markets, Simons was a world-class mathematician. He was a code breaker for the government where his entire job was to find the faintest possible signals buried in an ocean of noise. His success in finance wasn't some kind of pivot. It was a direct application of a lifetime spent mastering deep, abstract problem solving.
And his hiring philosophy really proves the point. Renaissance famously avoided hiring Wall Street veterans. Instead, they went after pure scientists, people who saw the market not as a collection of stories and gut feelings, but as a colossal data problem that had to be solved from scratch. They built everything they needed in-house, because no off-the-shelf tool could ever come close to their level of rigor.
And here is a concrete example of that philosophy in action.
In late 2023, while the entire retail world was just caught up in this AI hype storm around NVIDIA, Renaissance's internal models did the complete opposite. They slashed their NVIDIA stake and dramatically ramped up their position in Micron, the memory chip maker. Their data was pointing to a signal that pretty much the rest of the market was ignoring. That is what data-driven discipline looks like, trusting your models over the deafening noise of the crowd.
Okay, this is all really fascinating, but how do you actually apply it? If you're sitting in a university library right now, what is the actual tangible formula for building a career like this? Let's lay out the blueprint.
The real formula has nothing to do with software. It's all about process. It starts with you, the analyst, the final decision maker. Then comes what they call butt power, the raw discipline to sit in the chair and just do the work. This means hours upon hours in foundational books, building your theoretical base, and then thousands of hours just staring at charts, developing a real intuition for how data actually behaves. There is no app for that. There's no substitute for that investment.
As you're doing all this studying, you need a mental framework to organize what you're seeing. Learn to use this trend radar. You have to be able to distinguish between a short-term fad, like most of these retail trading tools, a macro trend, which is an observable shift over, say, 5 to 10 years, and a megatrend, a fundamental societal change that spans decades. Jim Simons didn't chase a fad. He built his entire firm on the megatrend of digitization and computational power. See the difference?
Now, for everyone who's in university right now, this is probably the most important piece of advice I can give you. The time to build this deep mathematical foundation is right now. Your brain currently has a plasticity, an efficiency for learning abstract systems that frankly diminishes over time. Do not waste this unique period of your life chasing shortcuts. Invest in building the intellectual infrastructure that will support your entire career.
Finally, let's talk about the philosophical, even ethical side of all this, because how you build your success is every bit as important as the success itself.
You have a fundamental choice to make in your career. You can be the expert, the person who patiently, deliberately builds a reputation on real, verifiable skill. Or you can be the promoter, the one who chases hype, sells empty promises, and then vanishes when the trend dies down. One path builds a legacy, the other just ends up as a footnote in history.
And the crucial point here is that real, lasting success comes from earning your results. It's the stability you get from knowing your edge is a product of your own effort, your own study, and your own integrity, not from exploiting someone else's hope for an easy way out.
Which brings us to our final question for you. As you start to map out your future, what is your ultimate ambition? Are you just looking for a tool, a shortcut to some outcome? Or are you willing to invest the time, the butt power, and the intellectual rigor to build something real, something that lasts, something that you could actually call a legacy? The choice, of course, is entirely yours.